Awaji, Inonbek, Dagomie, Abiante. I represent the people of Andoni, Opobo, Nkoro Federal Constituency, and the job man from Rivers State. Mr. Speaker and my very distinguished colleagues, the House is aware. I move a motion on the call for the establishment of the Ministry of Fisheries, Aquaculture, and Marine Resources. The House is aware that despite having a coastline of 853 kilometers bordering the Atlantic Ocean, as well as fresh and mangrove swamps, creeks, coastal rivers, estuaries, bays, near and offshore waters, with the capacity to feed the entire country and export, Nigeria is and has remained the fourth largest importer of fish in the world for its teeming population of over 200 million people. The House notes that the 2016 Nigeria Fisheries Statistics Report puts an annual fish demand at an estimated 3.32 million metric tons and domestic production at about 1.12 million metric tons, while the 2018 World Bank report put Nigeria's annual fish demand at 3.4 million metric tons and the domestic production at 1.17 million metric tons. This leaves a deficit of 2.2 million metric tons as a 2016 report and a deficit of 2.23 million metric tons in the 2018 report. Thus, domestic production in Nigeria only meets about 40% of the demand for fish. This deficit is responsible for the over $1.2 billion loss of revenue through the importation of fish and fishery products during the aforementioned years. The House also notes that to fully meet the wholesome demand of Nigerians for fish, the country spent about 500 billion naira on fish import between January and November 2021, as reported by the Nation newspaper of December 2021. Findings according to the newspaper also revealed that Nigeria imported over 1 trillion naira, that is 2.06 billion, of fish from major 9 countries between 2019 and 2021, thus taking a toll on the country's foreign exchange and negatively affecting the country's GDP. The House further notes that fisheries is a major economic sector estimated to employ over 8.6 million people directly and a further 19.6 million indirectly, 70% of whom are obviously women. Owing to recent significant investment of private capital and a renewed political will to empower the private sector, the area of aquaculture development, Nigeria is the largest aquaculture producer in sub-Saharan Africa, and this importance is steadily increasing. Yes, hence the need to sustain the momentum through the establishment of a government agency in the form of the ministry we are demanding. Observe that the Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture, under the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, is perpetually underfunded and poorly administered and receives less than 9% of the budget for the ministry. This puts the development of the sector in a state of jeopardy, a sector that has so much potential in creating employment, providing food security, and generating foreign exchange for the government, the focal points of the economic recovery plan of the federal government in the post-pandemic era. Aware that the volume of global trade in the aquaculture value chain is worth more than $200 billion annually, and that the fisheries department in the top 10 leading aquaculture countries like China, Japan, Norway, even Egypt and Morocco in Africa, and Namibia have created exclusive entities for this department, believes that Nigeria can set an ambitious goal of becoming a leading country in fisheries and aquaculture in sub-Saharan Africa, specifically in the productive development of its coastal marine environment, by taking a more serious interest in the development of its fisheries and aquaculture sector, and providing equitable funding incentivize the over 1 million indigenous artisanal fishermen and small-scale fish farmers using very old equipment and outdated practices, and scale them up into diverse set of industrial fisheries practices using modern technologies for the growth and sustainability of fisheries and aquaculture. Submits that to reduce unemployment through the fishery and fish farming and boost fish production, to stop importation, enhance exportation of fish and fish products, thus increasing the country's foreign exchange earnings. There is an urgent need for the establishment of a separate ministry of fisheries, aquaculture, and marine resources. Also believes that establishing a separate ministry to drive this sector will not only save Nigeria the excess of $2 billion yearly used in importing fish and fish products, but create employment opportunities for local fish farmers and other stakeholders in the value chain to thrive, boost international trade, increase foreign exchange, and revenue generation for the country. I therefore call on this very distinguished House to resolve to join me in urging the federal government under our President to establish the Ministry of Fisheries, Aquaculture, and Marine Resources to govern the fisheries, aquaculture, and the marine resource sector, formulate plans, strategies, policies, and programs for fisheries development to guide the fisheries economic reform, and also mandate the Committee on Legislative Compliance to ensure that this is implemented. I so submit, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Mutu.